Self-development is actually about becoming a character. The character that is your ideal self. And what better way to do that if not by using acting techniques? Hello, I'm Sandra. I'm a professional actress and I studied the ways in which you can take back the power over your life to live the story that you want to live. You've probably heard about the self-concept method. And guess what? There is an actual acting technique that uses self-concept in order to become a character. And today, I will describe this technique so you can apply it in your life in order to become your ideal self. Because there are a lot of solutions out there about how to change your self-concept and how to assume it. But they're all approximate and guesses. But this is the actual technique that actors use. This technique was created by a professor called Ion Cojar. He's a Romanian professor who said that acting is first of all a way of thinking. And he believed that an actor can actually live the story and the life of a character if they understand and assume their concept of life or of self. The concept is a way of thinking. And why this works is that if you assume that concept, that way of thinking with all your being, there won't be any other parts of yourself left that could judge you from the outside without not breaking your belief in that concept. I know it's a bit mind-twisting, but you'll get it. I will now give you an example from acting. You've probably heard about To Be or Not to Be, which is from Hamlet, and that's a play written by William Shakespeare, in which Hamlet meets what appears to be his father's ghost, who tells him to revenge him because his uncle is his murderer and he's now the king. And throughout the whole play, Hamlet has to decide whether or not to believe the ghost and kill his uncle. And depending on the actor, one could say that the concept of Hamlet is that there's an order of life that has to be respected. And that is why he believes in monarchy, he believes in the respect he has for his father, and that is why he needs to fulfill his wishes. And throughout the whole play, if the actor assumes this concept, they will act in the way that they know they have in order to reestablish the order of life, and that they have to respect their father's wish. So how do actors do it? They study the script and they analyze the actions that the character must take. And then they ask, okay, so I have to do this, 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 and this. How do I have to think in order to do this? In order for my actions to be these ones and not other actions? The answer has to be something specific and essential. Like, okay, for example, in my life, if I want to be someone that is fit, then I will act as someone who is fit. How does a fit person behave, in my opinion? They don't eat junk food. They meal prep. They go to the gym, or they do yoga each morning, whatever. Identifying the actions and the responses for several situations. You won't guess them all, and it's okay, you don't have to. But you have to find the essential actions that could define the concept of your ideal self. For example, I'm a vegetarian. Knowing the fact that I'm vegetarian, everything that comes into my life, I analyze it from that perspective as well, if it's related to food. So if I'm offered several types of food, I won't even look at the meals that include meat because I know I won't have it. So I only look for what doesn't contain meat. And that's just my grid of values. That's just how my mind works now. and I don't have to do anything else. I don't even think about the meat options because I know they're not an option for me. Every time I go to a restaurant, I automatically look for meals that don't include meat. Recently, I cut down on sugar, and I decided that I don't eat sugar anymore. And I was like obsessed with it. I was addicted. And I went to rehearsals, and people brought food and candies. And at the end of the rehearsals, I noticed that I didn't even have the impulse of grabbing a candy or something sweet, because I knew that I don't eat sugar. Eating candy was just not an option for me anymore. So I didn't have it. It wasn't such a big deal anymore because it's just not in my grid of values anymore. Now that you understand how this works, let's talk about the practical steps that you can take in order to use this technique, this acting technique, in your life in order to become your ideal self. First of all, you have to script your life. Imagine that you're writing a play or a movie script. Imagine the final scene. How do you look like? And after you identify the results, the final results of your ideal self, think about the actions that led to them. And then think about what values can you extract from those actions. And then how do you have to think in order to incorporate all those values? And then after you find that way of thinking, you have your concept. Multiple actors can have multiple concepts about the same character. And even the same actor can have multiple concepts for a character, but they just choose the one that fits best with them. So you have to brainstorm those concepts and see which one rings better for you, which one is quintessential, which one filters out anything that doesn't match with your ideal self. So, for example, if I want to be vegan, then I couldn't just say, okay, I don't eat meat anymore. I'll have to say I don't eat any products that come from animals. It has to rule out anything that doesn't fit. And then, once you find that self-concept that works best for you, it might sound something like, I'm a professional dancer. And that would change the way that you enter in every room. That would change the way you eat. That would change the way you train. That would change your whole routine. Or the way you walk on the street. Who knows? So this is what Cojar says about this technique, is that once you assume this way of thinking, you will end up doing things that you couldn't even think about before. You will be doing things you didn't even know you could do. You couldn't think about them whilst you were having your old self-concept. And once you found your self-concept, this is what I want you to do with it. Write it down somewhere that you can see it. Put it on your wallpaper if you have to. Put it on the cover of your journal or on your fridge. Repeat it each morning in first person, in the present tense. I am confident. I am a YouTuber. I am disciplined. Repeat it in the morning and before sleep. Every time you enter a new room, while you're walking down the street, while you're brushing your teeth in the morning, repeat it as much as you can until it becomes your grid of values from which you will be thinking your whole life. You just have to decide. If you decide that you are the kind of person who does their bed every morning, you'll just do it. You won't have to think about it. You won't have to analyze it every morning that you wake up. You'll just know that you're the kind of person that makes their bed every morning. So you'll do it. Another thing that you can do in order to really implement this in your life is to pick 3 past experiences from your life and analyze how you could have acted in that situation if you had this grid of values of the self-concept that you found. And you can do that through journaling or daydreaming or visualizing, because that's how daydreaming is called now. Short recap. Find your ideal self. Find their self-concept. Write it down. Repeat it as often as you can. Analyze 3 past experiences through journaling or visualization and how you could apply that self-concept in these situations. And then you could also pick 3 ideal situations and see how this concept would make you behave in those. Let me know in the comments your self-concept, the self-concept that you found, and how that helped you in your life. And if you have any tips or questions, feel free to write them down. I'm very curious about your thoughts on this one. Please subscribe and leave a like if this helped. You'll make my day. Till the next one, have a day and a life full of sunshine.